Welcome in, guys. This is JE Live, and I am Jake Ellenbogen, and this is our Friday night Q&A. I hope everyone is having a great Friday, and I'm here to answer any sort of questions. I'm sure you guys might have some questions. The Rams did go out today. Actually, Thomas Brown went out today and confirmed that the Rams are going to bring in. I actually just forgot his name off the top of my head. That was awesome. They're going to bring in their new running backs coach, and I'm going to get his name momentarily. I know him pretty well doing some research. Rashad Samples. Sorry, I wanted to make sure I got the name right instead of just throwing out one that was not it, like other people. Thomas Brown hired the new Rams running backs coach. As you know, he is going to be moving over to the tight ends coach spot in an effort to kind of mold his offensive play calling into eventually becoming the offensive coordinator for the Rams. And essentially what you're seeing here is Rashad Samples is a former wide receiver who played at Oklahoma State, transferred to Houston. He had a myriad of concussions, and because of that, he was forced to medically retire. But because of that, basically, he is now, one of the top guys in college, top minds. This is somebody that was SMU's top recruiter. He's one of the top recruiters in the country. He becomes a running backs coach. He goes to TCU, and he's not even there really. Now he's the Rams running backs coach. He's 27 years old. I love this for the Rams. I think he very much resembles what you would probably say Thomas Brown really ended up being. Somebody that didn't take long to kind of rise up the rungs, so to speak. And while Brown is, younger, or he is older than, Rashad Samples, Samples is ahead of the curve, man. You look at this, this is somebody that was an offensive assistant. He was a recruiting coordinator and rose his way up to becoming an assistant head coach and followed the staff to TCU. This is being reported by Chris Vanini, who is the source The Athletic is reporting. He is going to be the new running backs coach for the Rams. And here's some interesting things to point out. You guys may have just heard, obviously I said TCU, but I also said SMU. And that's where he was. Now, Rashad Samples with SMU, this is the intriguing part. He may not have coached Xavier Jones, who's with the Rams, but he was there and did have a hand in recruiting him. He has familiarity with him. As you know, Xavier Jones, 45 touchdowns, over 3,000 yards rushing, was expected to have a role at the Rams this year, but ended up hurting his ankle, and he was out for the year. He'll be back next year, so it'll be interesting to see if he has any sort of opportunity now and maybe an extra look because Samples is there. Now, let's get into the Q&A. I just wanted to throw out there, what's up, Willie Bowen? How we doing? The LA Rams' top priorities in the draft or free agency is offensive linemen, offensive tackles, linebackers for interior and outside lines, speedy secondary, safeties, and cornerbacks. Interesting. Yeah, I think that, I agree with some of that. Finally, a credible source to listen to. Appreciate you, Young and Isaac. Orange and Black Jake, kidding. Yeah, well, as you guys know, or you may not know, but I like a few hockey teams. I like the Devils. My favorite hockey team is the Vegas Golden Knights. I wore that jersey last night. They lost to the Bruins, which was painful. But that is my favorite hockey team. But I also do like the Oilers because I'm a big Leon Draisaitl fan. Sorry, I'm losing my voice already, I guess. Big Leon Draisaitl fan. I'm a big fan of Connor McDavid and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Kyler Yamamoto. They need a goalie. I mean, they're really a goalie away from winning the cup, but that's why there. What's up, Michael? No, I have not seen Batman. I'm going to see that tomorrow, probably during the day. So I'm going to see that with my cousin, and I'm excited to see it. I'm hearing some great things. I'm hearing some incredible things, honestly. We'll see if that holds, but I am seeing some pretty crazy stuff in regards to it being the best Batman ever and all sorts of stuff along those lines. But I don't know. I think it might be a little far fetched. I don't know if it's the greatest. I've never seen it, so I can't say that it is far fetched or not. It just kind of feels like it might be. To me, I felt like The Dark Knight was one of the best films ever made. I'm not even just saying comic book. I'm saying that felt like a Scorsese Best Picture quality film and had some incredible acting. But my biggest knock has always been with Christian Bale is that I think he's a better Batman than he is a Bruce Wayne. So, I mean, we'll see what Pattinson does. I know, Michael, you and I have talked about this movie coming out. We both had, somewhat high expectations for it. Um, so, you let me know what you think. Obviously, don't spoil it, but, for me, I'm going to see it tomorrow. I would imagine it's not going to be better than The Dark Knight, but I think it'll be better than Batman Begins, and I think there's a chance it's better than, The Dark Knight Rises, but we'll see. Do you think the Rams will go out to Saquon Barkley? No, they wouldn't only want a fourth round pick. I don't know where you heard that, Benny, but no, they would not only want a fourth round pick. No, yeah, no, that is they're not getting Saquon Barkley. I'm just gonna be real with you; it's just not happening, and it would cost you at least a first. This is a game changing back. Yeah, it would cost more than that. Should the Rams consider getting rid of Johnny Hecker? No. I don't think so. He took the pay cut. He's still a top 10 punter. He may not be up to the Johnny Hecker of old, but he's still a top 10 punter, and to me, it makes no sense to cut him, especially after you traded away Corey Bajorquez. So it wouldn't make any sense to get rid of him now. I don't think that there's anybody out there that's better than him, so to speak, that would be available and makes sense and not have to pay a lot too. Yeah, so I would not get rid of Hecker. I mean, The Dark Knight, every Marvel movie. I thought so. I thought The Dark Knight was better than every Marvel movie. And that was until No Way Home came out. No Way Home is my favorite movie of all time. No Way Home is the best comic book movie. I don't see it being relatively close if it's not The Dark Knight. Because The Dark Knight, it's close, but No Way Home just hits different, man. If you haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home, just so good, man. It's a treat. It really is. Would you trade Akers or Hendo in a second next year for Barkley if he's healthy? I would trade Akers for Barkley. I would do that. I wouldn't trade Akers and Henderson. I don't think Henderson in a second rounder for Barkley makes sense because I wouldn't want to give up that pick. I think at the end of the day, I'm trading draft picks not for running backs and not for a running back when you have running backs. I'd be trading a draft pick for Derwin James. I'd be trading a high draft pick for a lockdown corner like Jalen Ramsey or a quarterback like Matthew Stafford or a pass rusher like Von Miller. I'm not trying to trade high draft picks for the running back position, So to me, that's, But good question, though. I did see that about Saquon. They're saying that's all he's worth as of right now, but that's not what the Giants will want. Yeah, no, I mean, people are going to say that's all he's worth, but now he's in a system with Brian Dable, who I think is going to transform Daniel Jones into a decent quarterback moving forward. I don't think Barkley, they're going to want to let go of Barkley. I think Barkley's going to fit in well with the offense that Dable is going to run. So it makes no sense at all for them to get rid of him. Now, for the Rams, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to go out and get him, unless they're trading away Akers and they're saying, you know what, Akers does concern us with the Achilles. let's go out and get Barkley, even though he has the ACL. And I would honestly say Barkley and Akers are just as concerning. They both have gotten hurt quite a bit early on in their career. Henderson's had some injury issues as well. Nowhere near as, extensive or as serious as those two. But I think it's also the matter of playing that position. I mean, find a healthy running back. Find a running back that is constantly healthy in this league. Derrick Henry, I would have said. Then Derrick Henry went out and got an injury, Dalvin Cook, no, he's missed a whole season before. You talk about the top running back. Aaron Jones, he gets hurt. A.J. Dillon, I mean, we'll see, But for the most part, I mean, the running back position, guys get hurt all the time. Zeke Elliott, I mean, that's the name of that position. It's the name of the game. I mean, Barkley is a monster when healthy. You're absolutely right, Michael. It would be like kind of like having Todd Gurley again in his prime. But, at the same time, I am super high on Barkley. I was really high on Barkley at one point. But here's the problem. At what point, Barkley didn't look like Barkley last year. Do I have to start worrying if Barkley's ever going to get back to that? Is he done? Is he done as far as being that unstoppable force? Because he might be. And if he is, if he's just good and not elite, then you see the predicament that puts you in by going out and getting a guy like that. To me, if Barkley's like a top 10 back, I don't think that's worth it. You'd be trading for Barkley in the event that you think he's clearly better than Cam Akers and can provide that level of play that you got out of Todd Gurley. And if you don't feel like he can be a top 3 running back in the league, then you should not be making that deal. Like I said, I wouldn't be against Barkley, but there's no way the Giants are going to trade him. I just don't see it. There's no way Dable is going to trade him. There is a way that the Giants, however, would go out and they would trade away, James Bradbury. Because cornerbacks are a premium in this league, are not a premium in this league, and, no, are a premium, sorry. And, having a guy like him, didn't have his best year last year, but we know what he is. We know he's capable. Bringing in a whole new regime here with the Giants, I could totally see him wanting to start over with their own guys and not want to pay, James Bradbury that much money. Trade him away for a second or a first round pick. That makes sense. I agree, Battle Ram. I think that McVay is going to own this league. I really do. Should the Cowboys cut Amari? I don't understand that. Okay, and here's why. Let me just explain to you. I really like Michael Gallup. I think he's underrated, or at least I thought I did. Now I'm starting to feel like he's a little overrated, and it's by his team. Michael Gallup hasn't stayed healthy. So if your argument is that Amari Cooper's never healthy, look, I give Amari Cooper crap for not being consistent in fantasy and being hurt a lot. He's nowhere near as hurt as much as Gallup has been over the last few years. That's the first thing. The second thing is he's nowhere near as productive as Amari Cooper is. So now you're telling me you're going to cut Amari Cooper or trade him for the sake of bringing back Michael Gallup, who's coming off of ACL surgery? That doesn't seem smart to me. That doesn't seem smart to me at all. So all of a sudden, now you have guys like Adams on the market. You have Amari Cooper. I mean, that's intriguing to me. Not for the Rams, but I mean just in general. It's very intriguing that Amari Cooper just became available, or likely became available if they're actually going to trade him. If I'm the Patriots, I'm looking at that with some serious maybe we do that, because you look at Mac Jones. And I say yesterday, he's missing that one receiver. I mean, if you really think about it, he's missing that one guy. I just think, well, there you go, Michael. You and I are on the same page there. I don't think they're going to cut Amari. I think they're going to find a way to trade him. You just can't cut a guy like that and get nothing for him. Commanders tried trading for Russell Wilson, but Seattle declined. Yeah, random guy. I don't understand what is Seattle trying to do? Because to me, I just think they're a cockroach. I just think that they're a team that's just trying to exist. They have to die. They have to die and rebirth. Seattle needs to completely change what they're doing. It's not working. There's no way you can tell me in the next 5 years, the way Seattle is building their roster, that they will win a Super Bowl. They won't. They absolutely will not. They're never winning another Super Bowl under Pete Carroll. They're never winning another Super Bowl with Russell Wilson, period. Their team is not very good, and they're Russell Wilson quarterback injury away from being a 5-6 win team like we saw last year. I mean, that's just the truth. It's not really debatable at this point. Seattle Seahawks are not a good football team. They went 7-10, just like I said they would. I predicted the fall of Seattle, and now I think that they're going to be complacent and they're going to try and just, maintain their relevancy, when in reality, they're just hurting themselves. I think if they were to restart and rebuild, I think that they would have a more successful approach. And probably in 5 years, we're talking about them, competing for an NFC West title, But like doing it this way, no. I would trade Russell Wilson. I'd blow it up. You still have plenty of years with DK Metcalf. I mean, Tyler Lockett, you still have plenty of years with. I would just let those guys, you either trade them away or you keep them. You blow it up. You trade away Russell Wilson. You get picks. Keep in mind, Seattle's not a normal team. They traded away 2 first-rounders for Jamal Adams. They are behind the 8 ball. They had their worst season in years, and they're not going to pick in the first round this year. So they need to do more than what the average team might have to do if they were in their position with their talent. And they should just let Pete Carroll, just ask him to retire. They'll be like, Pete, we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for a Super Bowl, but this isn't working anymore. The Legion of Boom died a while ago. It's just not working. We can't beat the Rams. We can only beat the 49ers. We can't beat the Cardinals. It's not working. This is just not working. And that's as simple as it is. I think they have to start over. And maybe not entirely over, because they do have DK Metcalf and Lockett, and Rashad Penny looks pretty good now that he's healthy. They have Chris Carson as well. Tight end. I mean, they have to bring back Gerald Everett, you would imagine. The 1-year deal I thought was worth it. The offensive line they got to develop. I mean, they have to. They have some guys that I really do like, especially Damian Lewis, the guard. 3rd-round guard at LSU. I mean, I really like him. So they have some guys. Then you look at the defense, and it's like, what is your identity here? What are you trying to do? They put all their eggs in the proverbial, Jamal Adams basket. There's no vision there. So, yeah, they got to figure that out. Frank Gore in 2037 still going to be in the league. I think he's out of the league now. I think he's fighting. Like, didn't he? If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure I'm not mistaken here. He fought Darren Williams. And I think he lost. I don't remember. Rob, you want to sign Amari Cooper? I don't know how that's going to work, but Seattle thinks it's going to compete with Ken Norton defense. Oh, dear God. I forgot about that. Yeah, not good. As a Giants fan, I'm ready to part ways with Saquon. That's sad. But I hear you. I get it, You're probably also ready to part ways with Daniel Jones, but I'll just say this right now. I think with Dable, is really going to help Daniel Jones out. I look at him, I think he could be a poor man's Josh Allen. He's got the athleticism. The arm isn't anywhere near as big because Josh Allen has like an alien-like arm. But I don't know. I've seen some good things about Daniel Jones. I'm hoping Dable can develop him. I hope Seahawks keep Wilson so they can keep giving the 41ers their 2 annual L's. Yeah. Barkley needs to come to LA, 1,000-yard rusher without blinking, if he stays healthy. Like, again, my biggest concern is that they ran him into the ground at Penn State, and he's just not going to stay healthy. I thought he did, but apparently he didn't, Michael. I don't know. I'd have to look that up. You can have a good run game with a decent offensive line and a half-decent running back. Don't need Saquon for that. I agree with that. If Amari Cooper is cut, Patriots would get their number one wide receiver they need. I agree. If for some reason we don't get OBJ back, should we go for Amari Cooper? I mean, he's just going to be he's going to be expensive. Like, OBJ won't be that expensive. Amari would be expensive. And to me, I don't think that they need another receiver. I think OBJ is a premium. He's a plus. He's because he works so well. Like, if he didn't work this well with Stafford, I don't think they'd want to bring him back, just for the sake of, we have OBJ. No. I think they want to bring back OBJ because of how well he worked and how hard he worked and how much this team truly loves him. I don't think if there was another circumstance, I don't think there's an OBJ replacement. I think it's OBJ or they don't sign another receiver and they go with Robert Woods, Van Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, and then have Tutu Atwell, Ben Skoranek, Jacob Harris, all duke it out. I don't think that necessarily they're looking for an OBJ replacement. I think it's either OBJ or they're going to let their draft picks work their way into the rotation. So, and in that sense, I think the Rams win regardless. If they get OBJ back, phenomenal. And if they don't, then there's going to be playing time for Tutu Atwell and Jacob Harris, which I want to see personally. But I also want OBJ back because he's like my favorite player. So I would love OBJ back, and I think he's 100% going to be back. But if he doesn't come back, I don't see the Rams going after a Davante Adams. I don't see him going after an Amari Cooper. I don't see any of that. I think they're more likely to go after a tight end. That's what I think. Because they still, if you remember, they still have that interest. Remember when they went they were, testing the waters with Zach Ertz? They've shown interest in tight ends. Tyler Higbee is still, he's here to me. He's right around the top 10, tight ends. I would not be surprised. And as good as the tight ends looked, I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams got another tight end. I would not be surprised by that at all. I wouldn't be surprised if they brought back Gerald Everett, who's a free agent. Wouldn't be surprised. No. I mean, personally, I wouldn't be spending my, free agent money. I wouldn't be spending that on a tight end. I wouldn't be spending it on a running back. I wouldn't be spending it on a wide receiver. Actually, I would consider running back. As you guys know, I do like the running backs coming out of this, this free agency class. But I don't think that the Rams, there's any sort of reason for them to go after a wide receiver and tight end. And so that leads me to believe if the Rams do go after a wide receiver or tight end, if OBJ doesn't come back, or they go after Saquon Barkley, then that's Sean McVay saying, hey, our offense is literally right here. We're trying to get it up to here. And this is the final piece to that puzzle, so to speak. And it's a different offense. It's going to be different. If you try to compare it to 2018, you can't, because Todd Gurley at the beginning to middle of 2018 was the most dominant running back we've seen since Adrian Peterson had the 2,000-yard season and was actually on the cusp of breaking Eric Dickerson's single-season record. Think about it. Because the Derrick Henry season came after that. But I'm talking about the Todd Gurley 2018 season. We hadn't seen anything like that before that, going back to, Adrian Peterson. So that's the thing. Todd Gurley was just invaluable. And he was the straw that stirred the drink. He was the catalyst. He was the engine. And so if Sean McVay is like, hey, I had this realization that our offense needs Todd Gurley, and Todd Gurley obviously is not going to help us in the way that, we wish he could. We're going to go out and get our own Todd Gurley now. That would be Saquon. So that's when I can understand it. If they feel like, okay, Cam's not going to get there. He's really, really good, but he's not Todd, and we need Todd. Saquon's the closest you're going to get to that. So, that's what I'll say. in regards to that. Commanders called about Patrick Mahomes too. Yeah, Commanders are just all in basically. They saw the Rams. They saw the Rams win with their should have been head coach, because I'll be honest with you, many of you that know me, I wanted Sean McVay. Even when Fisher was the head coach, I was saying the Rams need to fire him and hire Sean McVay tomorrow. And I still, to this day, cannot believe Washington let this guy leave the building. They let Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Kevin O'Connell, Aubrey Pleasant, Wes Phillips, all these guys just up and leave. Ejiro Evero. And like, that's the thing. So for me, it's still mind-boggling to me that Washington let Sean McVay leave. It's almost as mind-boggling as to me when people say the Washington Commanders are one quarterback away. They're not a quarterback away. A quarterback will help, but Ron Rivera didn't win the Super Bowl when he was coaching Cam Newton's MVP 15-1 season. Ron Rivera ain't winning a Super Bowl with that team. He's just not. He's not that far away from being Jeff Fisher. Let's call it like it is. He gets a lot of credit, and, obviously, let's give the guy who's due, fighting off cancer, fighting off COVID. It was tougher with him with COVID because he had cancer. But Ron Rivera isn't that much better than Jeff Fisher, because Fisher also lost in the Super Bowl. Fisher's also had a bunch of meh seasons, and Ron Rivera's done the same. So I don't think that they're a quarterback away. I think a quarterback is certainly going to help, but I think they need a head coach. And I still can't believe that they let McVay walk through those doors at age 30 to go be the Rams head coach. And I'm glad they did. But Washington right now, they just saw the Rams. I got to give them props. At least give them props to the fact that, look, Washington realizes the Rams made the right move. There were executives, there were GMs, coaches around the league that were buzzing about the idea that the Rams traded away a 26-year-old quarterback for an aging quarterback that had never even played in a divisional round of a playoff. They traded away a guy that played in the Super Bowl for that guy. And, there were different opinions and things that were out there. But I think at the end of the day, coaches are now going to realize, and owners and GMs, and we'll see what they do with it. But they're going to realize, hey, look, like, the Rams knew what they were doing. Maybe we're not doing this thing right. And they're going to have to reevaluate their thinking. And I think it's going to happen a lot, to be honest with you. I think it's going to happen a lot. I think we're going to see a lot of teams. I think there's more teams that might consider passing on the quarterbacks in this class than they would have in the previous, era of football before the Rams won this Super Bowl. I think there's going to be more teams that go after a Russell Wilson, go after, a Derek Carr, and try to pry those guys away instead of drafting 8.5-inch hands, Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis playing at Liberty, or Matt Corral coming off a huge injury, favorable offense in college. I'll be honest with you. I love the draft. I love the draft. I put together top 300 big boards back to back to back to back years. But I'll tell you right now, the Rams have changed my mind on the draft. It's not that I don't care about the draft, but I feel like the Rams figured it out. See, back in the day, there wasn't a salary cap. That's why I think, to me, those teams, I'm not saying discredit them, but I think we give them too much credit. Like back in the day, like the Montana teams and all that, we give them too much credit. We give the Cowboys with Aikman and Irvin too much credit. We give those older teams too much credit, and here's why. There's no salary cap. They just spent money. They went out and got those guys. Like, you could go out and get a Deion Sanders, and it's like, oh, well, there's no cap. Deion Sanders wants to play for us. We'll pay him a blank check because there's no cap. You know, that's the thing. And I think that's something that makes this whole thing that we're seeing out of the Rams even more impressive. They're doing this with the cap. Oh, well, they manipulated the cap. They're doing this with the cap. Oh, well, they're moving money around and restructuring. They're doing this with the cap. Oh, well, they trade all their draft picks and they're, going after star hunting. They did this with the salary cap. They did this in the salary cap era. You do realize this is unheard of. The Rams are doing things that no one has even attempted. And now, because it's working, teams are like, oh, damn. Oh, well, okay. All right, well, hey, you know what? It's working for them. Why don't we give it a shot? That's what's happening. And I think we're going to see more and more from teams to follow that path. And I think that's what Washington is doing. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, calling about Patrick Mahomes. It's hilarious. AZZA, thank you so much for donating. What made McVay stick out to you as a coach to be the next coach of Rams? Great question. I love this question, actually. So the thing that really stuck out to me, in regards to Sean McVay is, you can kind of scout, coaching prospects, but for the most part, I'm not in the room. I'm not at practice. I don't know how this guy, leads men and all of that. But what I can see is I can see the pressers. And I didn't see, a ton of pressers out of a tight ends coach or an offensive coordinator the way I did as Sean McVay. And I did not see them at the quality of McVay. Like, we're talking night and day compared to him speaking and Jay Gruden speaking. And I understand that's like politics, right? Like, you talk a good game, coach speak, you look the part, you sound the part, you can kind of, fake out people, fake it till you make it. I didn't get that vibe out of Sean McVay. So while he sounded better and sounded like the head coach, because this was the funny thing, I would listen to Jay Gruden do his presser, and no knock on him, but Sean McVay sounded way more like the head coach than Jay Gruden. Jay Gruden would be like, yeah, we had an opportunity there, and I could have done a better job, and we'll reevaluate, we'll get back to it. And Sean McVay would come in about the same thing, and he'd be like, yeah, well, what we had here, Lexi or Matthew, like, he always addresses people by their names. Be like, we had it was a soft zone, and we were trying to get Pierre on an out there. Kirk was reading it, and but we also had Deshaun over the top, so we're like, you know what, Deshaun's over the top, let's go with Deshaun. We totally, Kirk doesn't see, or I need to do a better job of putting Kirk in position to see this, and that's why we lost this game. And like, he goes through it, and I'm like, okay, this guy has accountability, because from what I heard, and I'm not saying that Jay Gruden didn't take ownership of the loss, but I would hear things like, I'll go back and I'll reevaluate and see what we can do better. And then Sean McVay would be like, I know I have to do a better job of putting Kirk in better positions to succeed there. You have Deshaun going down the seam, and then you have Pierre Garçon. He's coming over. Pierre's doing a nice job coming over the middle. Kirk has that option, but I got to do a better job of seeing ahead of time, look, this defense is running this coverage and things along that nature, and maybe get more involved, with getting, Chris involved. Chris Thompson can really help us out of the backfield, maybe, alleviate the pressure on Kirk Cousins. Our defense is really good. I got to do a better job as an offensive coordinator, putting the defense in position to succeed, as well as the offense. And so, and I'm like, dude, that is a head coach. And the dude's 30 years old. I mean, the only knock people had on Sean McVay was that, Oh, he's 30 years old. He's a frat boy. He looks like a frat boy. I can't take this guy seriously. He looks like somebody I met at the bar yesterday. Like, that was the only knock on him. But when you actually listen to him, which a lot of people failed to do, I went through and listened to every presser, and it was the same thing. That's called consistency. And he was consistent in his approach and talking and just being, a leader of the room. I mean, an authoritative figure. Not being an authoritarian, but authoritative figure. And I just loved how he would, every single person that he talked to, it's a little detail that I always noticed, to be like, yeah, that's a great question, Jordan. I think, oh yeah, great job, Nick. I think that's a great question as well. Hope, this is how he always addresses everybody. And that's a little detail that I like, but I really like how he tries to kind of guide you through his approach and his play and his process. And I think that's the thing where I was like, McVay's doing this, Jay Gruden's not doing this. That's one thing. Then you look, obviously, he turned Kirk Cousins into arguably a top 10 quarterback, at the time. And I mean, there are guys, all I kept reading was that Deshaun was talking him up, was that, Jordan Reed was really talking him up. I mean, they were like bros. Pierre Garcon was talking him up. So I'm like, look, these guys love him. This guy worked his way up. He's the OC. And then, of course, he gets the job with the Rams, and everyone's like, oh, he's the golden boy. Dude is, Ken from a Barbie doll series. And it's like, no, it's not because of his looks. It's like the guy knows his shit. He does a bunch of work to prepare, and he does it better than just about anybody. And his pressers are actually enjoyable to listen to. It's not a bunch of hogwash. And I like Bill Belichick personally, but it's not like Bill Belichick's like, yeah, we'll look at the tape. We're on to Buffalo. McVay will sit there, and despite all of these dumb questions that will come in, I'm not saying all reporter questions are dumb, but he could be asked a dumb question, and he'll try to make it sound like it wasn't a bad question, and then he'll add layers to it to make it actually a good answer that said reporter may not even deserve. But that's Sean McVay. When Cooper Kupp, you talk about extension of the coaching staff, like he always uses that term. We want Cooper, we want Matthew, we want Jared. We want these guys to be extension of the coaching staff. Dude, they are. It's rubbed off. And I'm not saying that Cooper Kupp wasn't smart before then, but just the way he handles himself in pressers and like that, the end of the game, I don't know if it was against Houston or what team it was against, but the one that went viral, that was like listening to Sean McVay. Yeah, it's like, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. So that's what I saw, AZZA. Appreciate you donating again. Sushi for breakfast. Thank you so much for donating. Been following you since the Stafford trade was announced. The algorithm brought me here. Year later, Super Bowl champions. Keep up the great content. Fave YouTuber. Best of luck, big dog. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. I'm glad to know that the algorithm is finally going in my favor again, because for a little bit, it really wasn't going that well, since I started gaming on this channel. Appreciate you. Appreciate your support, your following, and I will definitely keep up the content, and I appreciate that. Guys, be sure to like the video if you're enjoying it. I'm going to go through the comments that I missed. Let's see what we got here. Sneed, smart as heck. Yeah, he's done a really nice job with the cap. Let's see. Rivera's Fisher 2.0. I agree. Jake was right. OBJ was given a bad rap as a cancer. Tried to tell you guys. Baker Mayfield leads the league in interceptions since he entered the league, so I don't know why he was getting the benefit of the doubt over OBJ. I was sad when Dave Gettleman traded OBJ to the Browns. What a Brown move. Glad he got a ring. Yeah, no, I know. Gettleman tried to get a lot out of the Rams, was even trying to get Aaron Donald and Havenstein, and it's funny, those two win a Super Bowl with OBJ. The Rams refused to give up that much for OBJ initially, so they ended up going with Brandon Cooks. But yeah, the Giants tried to really, milk the Rams for all they had, in that OBJ trade, and so that's why they went on to Brandon Cooks. And the Browns, they didn't even give up anywhere near as much as, the Giants were trying to get out of the Rams. So that was I was a little annoyed by that, but it is what it is. And now, obviously, it definitely is what it is. Okay, Commanders, I saw that. Whoever starts at running back for us, they need to be yak running backs because our O-line was subpar run blocking. Well, the hope is, Michael, that they'll improve that part of their game this year. What do you think of my Sixers pairing Harden with Embiid? Only comment about hoops, LOL. I love it. I have been a critic of James Harden for a while. I mean, I loved the guy at one point, and then I started to dislike him, and I honestly thought he was kind of a little bit of a ball hog, and I didn't like the way he would kill the pacing for the Rockets towards the end of his tenure there. I did not like him going to the Nets, but I love that he got out of Brooklyn, and I love that people try to paint him as the villain for wanting to leave, but he left because the cancer that you're talking about, that like basically I said OBJ was not, is in Brooklyn. And that is Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving does not have a title without LeBron James. And Kyrie Irving went to Boston, and for whatever reason, he's not on Boston anymore. He wanted out of Cleveland because he wanted to be the guy. And then he goes to be the guy in Boston, doesn't pan out. And then he goes to the Nets. And here's the thing that isn't talked about with the Nets. They had a lot of these players that I really liked. They had Karis LeVert that was overnight developing. They had Joe Harris. They had Jarrett Allen. They had Spencer Dinwiddie, who came out of nowhere and all of a sudden was developing. Do you know why they were developing? It was because of the coach, Kenny Atkinson, who was developing. Surprising, right? Because NBA coaches don't develop anymore. They just want stars and want to make their life easy. Well, Kenny Atkinson was developing players, and Kyrie didn't want Kenny Atkinson. He didn't want him. They didn't get along, probably because Kyrie played like half that season. So he forced Kenny Atkinson out, and then all of those players followed. Karis LeVert was traded to the Pacers. You had Spencer Dinwiddie at one point or another was traded to the Wizards. You had Jarrett Allen that was traded to the Cavs. And all of a sudden, it's star-driven. We got Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan and Kevin Durant when he finally comes back from a season-ending injury. And we got Kyrie Irving, who only wants to play when it fits him. And then yet, they go out and get Harden. And Harden's considered the third best player for whatever reason. I think he's astronomically better than Kyrie Irving. He's way more valuable, but that's besides the point. The second thing is, Kyrie Irving got a pass. The dude was absolutely what you would call he was a cancer for Brooklyn. He's the reason that Jarrett Allen, who became an all-star, went to Cleveland. He's the reason LeVert got traded. He's the reason Dinwiddie got traded. He's the reason Kenny Atkinson doesn't have a job, despite the fact I'd argue he's doing a better job than most of the coaches in the NBA. He was developing talent. He wasn't giving up on them and trading them for a star. He was developing them. So anyway, long story short, it's already pretty long, but the thing I liked about Harden is that he was done. He was done with the BS. He's like, you know what? I don't want to play here anymore. I'm tired of this little prissy little, you know what, going around, constantly complaining, holding out because of COVID, not playing. I mean, look, he didn't get the vaccine. I'm not saying that he's a bad guy because he didn't get the vaccine. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that he didn't get the vaccine, so because of the law, he couldn't play in New York. When they played in Brooklyn, he couldn't play. Why was he not playing when they were on the road? And then he just decides to play towards the end of the year, and everyone's like, oh, Kyrie's back. Are you kidding me? And then the Sixers, they get James Harden, who's one of the best scorers in the league and has turned into one of the best facilitators in the league, and they just have to give up Ben Simmons and Seth Curry? Look, I like Seth Curry. I think Curry was the best piece of that deal. Ben Simmons, as far as I'm concerned, is whiny. He's a complainer. He's a coward. As soon as things got tough, He shut down. And he also is just like Kyrie. So great. You have two guys on your roster in Brooklyn that literally don't like to play and don't like to do their job. They do it when they want. And that's my thing. So now the Sixers add James Harden, Michael. And James Harden, in my opinion, with Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, I think it's a pretty good tandem. I think they're the best big three in the league when you combine Embiid, Harden, and Maxey. Embiid's the MVP of the league. Harden is one of the best facilitators you can have right now. And Maxey's a hell of a young player. Those three combined, I think, are enough to win the East. And it's why I'm predicting that they make the NBA Finals and they play the Memphis Grizzlies. I think those are the two teams everyone needs to watch out for. I think it's going to be Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Dylan Brooks, Jaren Jackson versus Embiid, Harden, Maxey, and Tobias Harris. Those are my thoughts. I'm very high on the 76ers. I think the trade was brilliant. I've given Harden crap, but I love that he got out of Brooklyn, and I love the fit because he hasn't made it all about himself. He goes there, his second game, he has a triple-double. He goes there, his first game, he has 5 3-pointers, which is basically tied for what Ben Simmons had, 3-pointer-wise, his entire career there. Just saying. Anyway, that was a lot longer than I expected, but that's how I feel. What do you think is the process of developing players, and how do you think the Rams do it so well? HD, this is a great question. I think the process is, you're bringing them into your ecosystem, right? You're bringing them into your culture. Developing a player isn't just telling them to be good, isn't just yelling at them to be good. It's showing them how to be good. And you look at, say, like Leonard Floyd, for instance. Leonard Floyd goes to the Rams, and he's a pretty predictable pass rusher. His pass rush plan is pretty predictable. He can be easily telegraphed. You can stop him, right? He's great against the run. That's why the Rams get him. Well, Aaron Donald teaches him that jump cut. And then he spends time with other guys in that same room. And I feel like he developed, He became more than just a guy that didn't have a plan of attack. He became a good pass rusher. So the way you develop players is you show them the way. And, you teach them, little things that maybe you work on the peanut punch. That's something you do. That's something that shows up in the game. Maybe you teach them discipline. Maybe they weren't disciplined in college. Maybe they were maybe they were overzealous in their approach. Very aggressive. Janoris Jenkins-like. Maybe that's, and then you teach them to be a little bit more disciplined. Hey, love where your mind's at, but, you got to be more disciplined because then you're going to hone your skills and you're going to be even better. That's to me what I feel. Like, I can't get too much into the coaching aspect of things because I'm not a coach, but that's how I'd imagine that they're trying to develop these players. Let's see here. Great question, by the way, HD. Shouldn't the Chiefs make Tyreek Hill the highest paid receiver? I think they will. I wouldn't pay Tyreek Hill that much money, but I think they will. Didn't Norton leave Seattle? I thought so. We will see what happens. We will. We can wait for OBJ mid-season with fresh legs for the stretch next year. I agree with that. I was sad when Dave I saw that. I saw that. Maybe sign Kenny Young. Maybe. Let LaFleur go too. Yeah, exactly. LaFleur also left the Washington team. They're a joke. They're not owned well. I feel bad for their fan base. I really do. If Whitworth retires, how much money would the Rams save in cap, and who would you want the Rams to spend the money on? About $16 million, maybe close to 17. And I just like to see them bring back Vaughn with that money. That's enough money to bring back Von Miller, and then some. Mr. Ellenbogen, Harrison Bryant would be a good pickup for us if we are talking tight end. Yeah, I think Bryant would be a good pickup. I mean, even Njoku, man. Can you imagine if the Rams rolled in next year? They had Higbee, David Njoku, Bryson Hopkins, and Kendall Blanton. If you think OBJ was held back by Baker Mayfield, wait until you look at Njoku's tape. It's hard to find plays where the guy isn't wide open and Baker refuses to throw and make that tough throw in between two defenders. Like, he's open over the top, but he refuses. He sees two defenders and he's like, I don't want to throw it over them because I'll throw an interception. Njoku could be a nice add and would really help in the red zone. Kyle Rudolph is an interesting one, Michael. There's no quarterback in the draft really worth drafting, honestly. The only one that I think is worth drafting is because he's not considered. Well, I think there's two. I'll say this. I really like Desmond Ridder. I've stood by that. I think he's the best quarterback in this draft. That doesn't mean he's going to come in right away and be a starter, but I think he's set up to be the best quarterback in this draft. He does remind me a little bit of Marcus Mariota, but I also think that he's going to improve. And I think he's one of those players who he's a winner. So he's definitely a winner in college, but I think he's going to improve as a player and get better as a pure passer in the NFL. Wait until NFL coaching gets a hold of him. You know? Bro wearing a fake Oilers jersey. I don't like spending a ton of money on jerseys, man. The OBJ one, I wanted in a lot, well, not a lottery, in a giveaway. I don't. So, this is from DHgate. I don't hide that. I've literally gone out and said a lot of my jerseys are from DHgate. I don't have the money to spend $300 on jerseys. Snead doesn't undervalue first-round picks. He takes advantage of teams who overvalue first-round picks. Heard that somewhere. Yeah, that's true. Alex, how's it going? Barring the Saints pull more salary cap BS, it would be intriguing to see Terron Armstead take over for Witt, but realistically, I see us giving the reins to Noteboom and got to give him a fair shot. I agree with that. Armstead would be great. I think Noteboom's the guy personally, but we'll see. Patriots dynasty trumps Niner or Cowboy dynasty due to salary cap and strict FA rules in place. 100% agree. 100% agree, Michael. And a lot of people don't realize, and while I do give Tom Brady flack, because as you guys know, I just don't really like Tom Brady that much as a player. As a person, I think he's pretty funny. I think he's pretty cool. I think he's likable now he's retired. But as a player, I mean, I just don't like him. So, I will say this about Tom Brady. Like, the Patriots, they got bailed out by Tom Brady in that. Because, like, don't get me wrong, and I agree with you, Michael, 100%, their dynasties are more impressive than the Niners and Cowboys because they did it under the salary cap era and strict free agency rules, like tampering and all that BS. But they don't have that if Tom Brady doesn't take those pay cuts every single year. Like, he took a massive bunch of pay cuts just to afford a Randy Moss, just to afford Wes Welker, Danny Amendola. I mean, he took pay cuts to afford guys. Like, other guys were getting paid as much as he was, and he was astronomically better than those guys. Got to give him props there. That's not possible without him. What do you think is the process? I saw that. One sec. I'm catching up, so if I haven't read your comment yet, I definitely will. It's just there's a few here that I gotta get through. I love how much Snead and McVay have evolved over the years. Snead is the dude we love now, but was getting blasted for the Tavon contract and honestly miss McVay sitting by himself in game making plays. I'll say this right now. Jeff Fisher had as much of control as the front office in the player personnel decisions as Bill Belichick did. Les Snead was handcuffed. He did not have as much control of player personnel as he does now. So keep that in mind. is that it's not that Sean McVay has less control than Fisher had. It's that they have more of a common bond. They have this understanding of each other. Whereas Fisher and Snead were different. Fisher was more traditional. Fisher wanted to bring in the Cortland Finnegans of the world and the Jared Cooks and the Drew Bennetts. Those guys. Whereas Snead didn't really want to go after those type of guys for familiarity reasons. He wanted to go after new guys. And you saw that. When the Rams brought in McVay, they went out and got Robert Woods. What connection did the Rams have to Robert Woods? Besides the fact he played at USC? None. But with Fisher, it was always a connection. It was always, I need to get this guy because it worked well when I worked with him last time. Kenny Britt, another example. What did the Rams do? They went out and got Andrew Whitworth. What connection did they have to Andrew Whitworth and the Bengals? Nothing. They have one now, but they didn't have one before. You know, that's the difference. Fisher wanted his guys. He wanted to be comfortable. He wanted his guys that he was familiar with. Les Snead didn't. It's why what I was told, and I don't know how true this is, I always kind of am like, I don't know if I buy this, but I was told from somebody with knowledge of this whole thing that Fisher wanted Carson Wentz and Les Snead wanted Jared Goff. And Les Snead somehow got ahead of Fisher to get Goff and kind of talked Jeff Fisher into accepting Jared Goff, but Fisher wanted Wentz. That's what I've been told. And I don't know if it's entirely true, but it makes sense when you think about it. Wentz was North Dakota State. The last time Fisher coached a guy from the FCS, it was Steve McNair, the late great Steve McNair from Alcorn State. Drafted him in the first round. Just saying. So that's the difference, is that I think Fisher really wanted his guys, you know, and I think Les Snead didn't care about having familiarity. And, like, I'm not going to lie, the Rams have done it before with McVay. Like, they went out and got, you know, Deshaun Jackson. Like, they've gotten guys that he's been comfortable with. But Fisher wanted Britt. He wanted Cook. They paid Cook out the ass, man. They gave him $8 million per year. He hadn't proven anything at tight end. They gave him that based on potential. His size, his speed combination. Kenny Britt had a 1,000-yard season, but before that, I mean, he was solid. But those are guys that were connected to Fisher, just like Cortland Finnegan. It was like the St. Louis Titans. I'm just calling it like it is, guys. I mean, that's what was happening. That's why they got Akeem Ayers. Akeem Ayers is from Tennessee. They got a lot of those guys that connected to Fisher from Tennessee. Les Snead and Sean McVay don't have to get everybody. Not everybody has to connect. They want good football players. What connection they have to Jalen Ramsey, Whitworth, Woods, Stafford? None. They just went out and got good football players. See my point? That's the difference. Again, not trying to hate on Jeff Fisher. I'm just telling you the difference. Let's see here. Sean McVay does sound like a car salesman. That's funny. AZZA, thank you again. How cool would it be when Cooper Kupp retires, he becomes the Rams OC or head coach eventually? Wouldn't be the first time a Rams wide receiver had a role with the Rams. The last time I think that happened, I think Torrey Holt is employed by them in some way. Maybe I'm wrong. But Crazy Legs Hirsch actually became the GM, I believe. And he was a big reason why the Rams were able to get Merlin Olsen and the Rams were able to get Roman Gabriel. The more you know. Crazy Legs Hirsch, man. Hall of Famer. Fantastic wide receiver. One of the most dominant seasons in NFL history for a receiver. And then he's also a big reason why the Rams ended up drafting Roman Gabriel and Merlin Olsen. The more you know. Okay. Michael, thank you so much for becoming a member. Appreciate you. Jake, how do you think Cleveland Browns fan base Baker Mayfield feels about OBJ proving them wrong and winning it all? I think a lot of the Browns fans are done with Baker, to be honest with you. There's still some that are like apologists, and it happens. I mean, we still have people that still, to this day, as much as I love the Ramley, we still have people to this day that like that team right there that think Jared Goff is better than Matthew Stafford. You can't get it through some fans' heads. But there's people like that about Baker. There's Browns fans that literally think Baker's better having him than going out and getting Kirk Cousins, which is, I don't even know how to. If Kirk Cousins went to the Browns, I don't care what his record is in postseason. I don't care what his record is in primetime playoff games. I do not care. I don't care. Kirk Cousins on that team, they're potentially winning that division, and they're going to make a run in the playoffs. Kirk Cousins is so much better than Baker Mayfield. It's not even arguing. Not worth arguing. My man, Michael. Yeah, Michael's awesome. I've known Michael for a bit now. He's a friend of mine. Can you imagine if we would have gotten Stafford when we drafted Goff, how many rings we would have had? Stafford would be on Tom Brady heels if that were to happen. No joke, dude. I think if the Bengals had the Browns O-line, we'd discuss a different Super Bowl outcome. Baker's the problem. 100%. Totally agree. Absolutely agree. If the Bengals had a better offensive line, they could have won that Super Bowl. Very, very easily they could have won that Super Bowl. Because here's the thing. This is the great thing. As long as the Rams won this Super Bowl, the Rams are set up for immense success because they're nowhere near as good right now as they're going to be. Matthew Stafford, in his first year with this new offense, was nowhere near as good as what he's going to be in year 2. You know, they're going to be able to really get this offense down. And hopefully, if everyone stays healthy, they'll have Woods and Kupp for a whole year. They'll get OBJ in November, you know. I think, if anything, the one guy that really benefits from OBJ being out is Higbee. Like, you fantasy owners out there should really consider going after Tyler Higbee. I think he's going to be very relied on. He would have played, you know, if you had the Super Bowl two weeks after where the Super Bowl was. Like, it's not like he's out for the next season. He had an MCL sprain. Like, he'll be back. And as far as, like, Benny, as far as what you're saying with Stafford, that's what I wanted. 2016, man, I wanted the Rams to trade for Matthew Stafford. I wanted it so bad. I've been saying this guy is a top 7 quarterback in the league for years. This is who I've always wanted. My buddy Tyler and I, we've wanted this for years because we've watched the Stafford games. We've watched how underrated this guy truly was, and it was just amazing to see 9 and Stafford with that Rams color and everything. Oh, my God. Like, when they got him, I said it. I'm like, all bets are off. They're winning the Super Bowl. Because what people don't see is that, obviously, even though this guy leads the league in fourth quarter comebacks since entering it, people don't see that. They don't watch the games. They watch Thanksgiving. Those Thanksgiving games never really came down on the wire. They'd always end up being somewhat blowouts. It's not Stafford's fault that he scores 3-4 touchdowns and they give up 42 points. That was my biggest issue. So, appreciate you, HD. What's up, Holden? Nice chain, Jake. Where did you get that thing? Also, that should be a Blues jersey. My brother has a Blues jersey, Ryan O'Reilly. This is a Kyler Yamamoto Edmonton Oilers jersey because I like 3 teams, as you guys probably know. I like the Vegas Golden Knights, number 1. I like Edmonton, and I like the New Jersey Devils. The reason for all 3, Vegas I chose on my own. Vegas was my team before Vegas had a team. I chose them before they had their draft. The Edmonton Oilers I like because I fell in love with watching Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid, and I've just been following that team. I've stuck by them since those guys were drafted, and to be honest with you, like, it does kind of come off like a bandwagon, but I just love the sport of hockey, so I like different teams. And then the New Jersey Devils, I went to Devils games. I've gone to 4 Devils games with my buddy Kyle, who got me into the Devils, and I've just been a fan ever since. And trust me, that is not bandwagon fanning, because the Devils, they're awful. I mean, they're not good. So you can't hate on me there. Let's see what we got. What's up, Nolan? How we doing? Who exactly gets a ring on the Rams? I.e., does Kenny Young, Djax, Gurley, because he was on the cap? The guys that were on the Rams roster get them. Xavier Jones, who was on their IR, would get one, I believe. I think they'll have one for... oh, now I forget his name. This sucks. The UCF kid that unfortunately passed away, the running back. Why can I not remember his name? Holden, you know who I'm talking about. I think his family will get his ring. They'll have a ring in his honor, I would imagine. I think that I don't know why I can't remember his name. I liked him, by the way. Otis Anderson, yes. Otis Anderson is going to get a ring. It's going to be probably given to his family, but yeah, I think he gets a ring. And I would say this, I wouldn't rule it out for the Rams to give rings to guys like Michael Brockers either. I'm not saying they will. It's kind of up to them. But I will not be surprised if Michael Brockers gets a Super Bowl ring. I think here's how it works, okay? It's really up to ownership. And some people think differently and all of that, whatever. But, like, I've tried on a Super Bowl ring before. I don't know if you guys know Cephas Witherspoon. He played for the Saints. I got to try on his Super Bowl ring because he was at Leroy Irvin's 60th birthday party. So when I was there, I tried on the Saints Super Bowl ring they got. And basically, the Saints ownership sent a Super Bowl ring out to anyone that had ever donned a Saints helmet, whether it was for a day or for 10 years. Like, it did not matter. So, like, Cephas Witherspoon, I don't even think he played that long, and he got one. If the Rams go that route, I think that's a cool approach. I think you should differentiate them, but I think it's a cool approach. And if they do go that route, then you're probably going to have the greatest show on turf getting one. You're probably going to have, players like Oshimigo Atagwe, and I don't see how you wouldn't do something like that. You can afford it. The Saints afforded it. The Rams are way better off than the Saints, so yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what the Rams decide to do. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't. But I think the most likely one, because that's not guaranteed, I think the most likely one is going to be everyone who is on the roster. Like, Serena Morales will probably get a Super Bowl ring. She was on the roster this year. Like, the people that worked in the front office, that worked at Agora Hills, the complex there, the training staff, the coaching staff, the front office, all of that, and then the players. Kenny Young should definitely get a ring. 100% should get a ring. So Kenny Young should 100% get a ring. Micah Kaiser, J.R. Reed, Juju Hughes. Those guys may have been picked up, but they should 100% get rings. Raymond Calais, he's on IR. He'll get a ring. Maurice Jones-Drew should get a ring. J.B. Long will get a ring. I think a lot of those people are going to get rings. And I think, like, the furthest that you would stretch to be like, really? Even he's going to get a ring? I think you'd be looking at, like, I don't even know. What's a good name for it? I don't know. Carson Tinker will probably get a ring. You know, Kyle Markway will get a ring. But yeah, I think Kenny Young. I think Deshaun Jackson. I think they'll get a Super Bowl ring for sure. Oh crap! I never answered Holden. So this is Jackson. Odell Beckham Jr. is actually a spokesperson for Jackson. It's Jaxxon. That's where I get my gold chain. I had to get a bigger one because I didn't like the rope chain. But yeah, this is just like a 5mm Cuban. It's like $180. I got it. I want to say like mid last year, probably early last year, I would say. So yeah, that's where I got my my chain. For those of you that are asking. Let's see. I still have a Bengals Wit jersey he gave me at a spring practice. That's awesome. That's so cool. I never tried DHgate. Yeah, it works well. Just be sure to follow the stars. Go with a 5-star review. Go with ones that have 4.9. Stay away from like 4.5, I would say. Like anything above 4.5 is what I would roll with, but I've had, success with them. They're not perfect. Sometimes I get ones where I'm like, this is incredible. I get ones where I'm like, eh. And it's like they're like $20-$30, so you don't break the bank unless you buy a bunch of them. Can't blame you, Jake. LOL jerseys are expensive as hell. They are. They 100% are. The past year, we didn't value O-line at all in the draft. Could you see this draft as the exact opposite? Ton of O-line picks. Not really. I could see them getting like a few, maybe like a couple, but I don't see them like going crazy. I would not be surprised if they end up getting what's his face, Cole Strange. Feels like a Ram. I think Legacies Smith, who we just interviewed. By the way, we just interviewed George Moore of Oregon. That is up on the channel as well. So be sure to check that out. Yeah, I think we posted at like noon, I want to say. Full interview. Alexis and I are just working on more interviews, so we'll have more prospect interviews on the channel and on the podcast. I think media pretty much nailed the narrative on Goff and Wentz. Goff was more polished, could be a very good pro, versus Wentz having much higher ceiling, but injury concerns could limit him. It's funny, Alex, because while I agree, I also disagree with that, because here's why. Wentz was the more polished one. Goff had the higher ceiling. I think Goff had the higher ceiling. I think Goff lacked polish. Goff wasn't the thrower of the football that Wentz was. But I think Wentz, I don't even know if I agree with that. I think Wentz had the higher ceiling and Wentz was more polished. I think the only thing that kept Goff as the top guy is because he played at Cal. He didn't play at North Dakota State, which was the Alabama of the FCS, but most people don't watch the FCS football. And I feel like with Carson Wentz, it was all about the injuries, And I saw Andrew Luck in Carson Wentz. Not saying he was going to be Andrew Luck, but he played with that style. And I think that kind of scared some teams because, of injuries. Brady and Belichick both GOAT. Fisher was good with the defense, but he couldn't find no type of offensive players for the life of him. How come Mitchell and Ness is no longer making Jackie Slater and Nolan Cromwell jerseys? Good question. I don't know. That's interesting. Yes, join the Discord. Nolan has posted it below. 7-9 Fisher, he's also posted. I think media pretty much, okay, I saw that. Had no idea Crazy Legs was our GM at one point. Yeah, I'm going to look up what years, but let's see. Awesome, I love when I hit that. Elroy Hirsch. Yeah, he was the Rams GM from 1960 to 1969. Like, I mean, you could argue he was like the architect of the fearsome foursome. Like, that's crazy. He replaced Pete Rozelle because Rozelle actually became the NFL commissioner. During his tenure as general manager, he helped the team draft numerous talented players, including quarterback Roman Gabriel, first round 1961, 14th round pick in 1961 Deacon Jones, first round pick in 1962 Merlin Olsen. In 1963, after Dan Reeves acquired outright ownership of the Rams, Hirsch's title was changed to assistant to president. He continued to serve as Reeves' assistant through 1968 season. So he was the GM and he was the assistant to Dan Reeves, and then became the team president when Reeves acquired outright ownership of the Rams. Yeah, anybody that thinks Elroy Crazy Legs Hirsch isn't like one of the most important like members of Rams history, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, he's the architect of the fearsome foursome era Rams. I mean, that's what he is. It's incredible. He's just unbelievable. It's why I love him. He was in a few movies too. He has his own motion picture, Crazy Legs, that came out in November 1953 that focused on his life. I've watched it. It's pretty good. I like it. Oh yeah, Crazy Legs 100% would make an all-time roster. I mean, the starters on the outside, you look Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce. I think in the slot, you'd have Crazy Legs. That's the thing that sucks, is that when the Rams Sosar era happened, I don't think people like realize how good of a team, like how good of a franchise and organization this thing truly was. Like, they are so rich. I mean, they had Kenny Washington. Washington is the first ever black player to ever play in the NFL. Like, they employed him. You know what I mean? Like, they were trailblazers for that. You know? But I mean, they've had so much talent. It's just crazy. Let's see. I'm trying to catch up here on comments and questions. Oh, Michael, thank you so much for donating. I just saw that. Really appreciate you. Let's see. Which current Ram had the most impressive NFL scouting combine performance, Jake? Just asking. Current Ram? Ooh, I'd probably have to say Aaron Donald or Jalen Ramsey. Because Ramsey looked like a freak of nature. Aaron Donald looked like a freak of nature at his size. You shouldn't be able to run that fast. And he ran like a 4.6 something. Like, that's just incredible. Cooper Kupp had a really good combine. People focus on the 40 time, but if you watch the gauntlet drill, you could tell he was a natural hands catcher. And that is something that I think is somewhat underrated in receivers nowadays, because you watch, everyone seems to let it into their chest now. He doesn't. You know, this is somebody, he puts his hands out and attacks the ball. That's how it's supposed to be. Let's see here. Yes, Hopkins did show up big in the Super Bowl. Big fan of him. I'm excited to see his improvement. Excited to see his development. Are you going to come out with a mock draft at some point? You know, I think I don't want to do too many, but I think I'll do one soon. I know that was a big thing for me last year. And if you remember, one of the guys that I mocked to the Rams actually went to the Rams. It's Robert Rochelle. So, yeah. Yeah, I like the Florida Panthers and the Blues. I like what the Florida Panthers did going out and getting Anthony Duclair. Sam Bennett has really turned his whole career around. And Alexander Barkov and, Jonathan Huberdeau, like, okay. Like, those are just, they're nasty, man. Like, I know they've lost some games they probably should have won, but they look really good. And Bobrovsky and net, too. Like, Ekblad, they got some really good talent in Florida. Seattle Kraken fan, I see you. Thoughts on the Rashad Samples hire? Yeah, Nolan. So I started off the show with it. In case you missed it, which it does look like you did. So I'll just say this: Rashad Samples, 27 years old, former wide receiver, played at Oklahoma State and Houston, and he actually suffered so many concussions that he had to medically retire. Because of this, he's a lot younger than coaches that you would see, and so he basically comes out of nowhere. Goes to SMU. He wastes no time at all to become one of the best recruiting coordinators in the country. Actually, might have been the best recruiter in the country by a lot of people's, name. He has familiarity with Xavier Jones, who of course is with the Rams. He'll be back off IR this year. We'll be ready to compete. This is somebody that had 45 touchdowns, over 3,000 rushing yards. And then on top of it, Samples goes to TCU. And we've seen this guy go from assistant to head recruiter to running backs coach, and then getting that upgrade that we saw out of Thomas Brown in assistant head coach. Telling you right now, Thomas Brown hired this guy. I think McVay had something to do with it as well. It looks good, obviously, letting everyone know that Thomas Brown hired him. And I'm not saying he didn't, but I'm saying it does look good for him. The Rams just know how to find him, man. They really do. I think Samples is going to be one of the better coaches in the NFL upcoming. 27 years old. He's going to be damn good. I'm just going to say that right now. Like, I got the vibes out of him like he could be better than Thomas Brown. When you see guys moving up the rungs like that quickly, and they're 27 years old and they're already in the NFL as a running backs coach, yeah. Yeah. Sorry. That guy's going to be special. I'm telling you right now. Samples is going to be special. So, keep that name in mind, because he's Rashad Samples is going to be a guy that you're hearing probably becoming a head coach at age 31, 32. And maybe since he's already a running back coach at 27, he's on a trajectory to tie Sean McVay for youngest head coach in NFL history. So, yeah, I think Samples is going to be damn good. And I trust the Rams when they go out and they get these coaches. Let's see. Appreciate everyone with the assist on the Otis Anderson there. Alec Martinez Knights. Yes, big Alec Martinez fan. He broke his face, but I don't see J.C. Jackson. That dude is going to get paid massively. So I don't see it. But if they got him, I don't know how you're throwing on J.C. Jackson and Jalen Ramsey. But that's just me. You guys. It's so funny. Anyone you fell in love in the draft yet? Anyone aside from Sauce Gardner? No. But that'll happen. Expect next week I'll start to really form my opinions on these guys. I need to watch more tape over the weekend. We'll put out some videos and stuff like that, but expect next week. I've had a hard time really getting in the draft like I normally do, probably because the Rams were in the Super Bowl and they won. But expect next week to be a little different, and I'll be able to comment more on these draft guys. Give Denari Alexander a ring. Can I get a ring? I love Denario, man. I agree. If his knee issues held up, he would have been an absolute superstar. He was the next Randy Moss. I don't care what anyone says. He's 6'5". He was running 4.4 speed. That's Randy Moss. Big playability, great ball tracker, vertical. He had it all. Really unfortunate. LA Rams #1. They will run it back. Super Bowl will be victorious. Have anyone you? Okay, I saw that. Yes, send Steven Jackson a ring. I think they will. Does Jared Goff get a ring? That is an interesting one. I mean, I think, I would give him one. If I were the Rams, I would give all my all my old players one. I would do what the Saints did. I would absolutely do what the Saints did if I was the owner of the Rams. Yes, Wentz does have a higher football IQ. Goff had the injury that 1-11 season, but Wentz had, I think, an ACL tear and a shoulder injury. Although, are you a good quarterback prospect if you don't have a shoulder injury coming out? I feel like every quarterback does. Stafford had a bad one. Bradford had a real bad one. Surprisingly, Bradford's shoulder never ended up being an issue. It was always his knees. Really unfortunate on that. Henry Ellard was great. Depends, is Tom Fears a tight end for you? Is he a wide receiver? I mean, in today's era, Tom Fears would be a tight end. But I think all time, he's probably a receiver. So, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, are they up there? That's the thing. You got to decide that. But, they also have, Flipper Anderson, Jim Benton, who, for whatever reason, is not a Hall of Famer. He's the second receiver in NFL history to have 1,000 yards receiving. He did it in the 40s. The first ever was Don Hudson. Mind-boggling that he's not in the Hall of Fame. I agree. The Vikings and Cowboys, this is why Rams fans hate the Vikings and Cowboys, because, the Rams are notoriously known as that franchise that should have way more than 2 Super Bowls and more than 4 championships. They're a historic franchise that should have won in the 60s. They should have won in the 70s. They should have won in the 80s. They should have. 100%. They should have won more in the Greatest Show on Turf era. That's how it is. I have not watched Heaven Can Wait. Is it any good? I assume it is if you're asking me if I watched it. This free agency is going to be wild. Can see teams in NFC West making big free agency acquisitions besides Rams. Jake, you're back. What's tonight's topic about? It's whatever you guys want it to be about. Although we've been live for an hour and a half and I'm starting to get hungry. Yeah. "40 time is overrated." Yes, it is. Yeah, I agree, Michael. The 40 time and the 31-inch vertical. Jerry Rice ran 4.7. My comparison to Cooper Kupp, if anyone remembers, it was Keenan Allen. Pretty much similar players. I think Kupp does it at a higher level, but I think they're both great players. Amari Cooper to the Rams, huh? I don't think he's coming there. Yeah, Sample's age caught me off guard as well. Yeah, their coaching staff is nuts. Anyone who gets hired by McVay is guaranteed a future head coach to some team. McVay is reloading that clip nicely. Hell yeah, Raheem Morris. Thomas Brown, Raheem Morris going to bring us some third-round picks next year. And then at some point, if Rashad Samples gets a chance to be an OC, then he will too. The Rams have this freaking revolving door where I don't know if you guys are grasping this, but the Rams are building a potential, like, Sean McVay's coaching tree could literally take over the NFL. I don't know if people are catching on to this because Bill Belichick has not had this luck. And the reason is because the Patriot way comes off as you being a jerk if you're not backing it up. Like, Bill Belichick is respected because he wins. He has 6 titles. So anything he says goes. And no one complains. No one bats. Like, that's fine. But if you're Matt Patricia and you go into Detroit and you're like, this is how it's going to be, Matthew, and you're going to like it. Because this is the Patriot way. This isn't the new Detroit Lions way. And Matthew Stafford's sitting there. He's been there for 9-10 years. And he's like, are you kidding me? Like, who the hell do you think you are? And then you have the same thing, Brian Flores with the Dolphins, perhaps. Maybe I disagree a little bit with that, but you get my point. Josh McDaniels better tread lightly with the Raiders, let me tell you, because there is a reason. Bill O'Brien with the Texans. There's a reason why this Patriot way of coaching does not work. There's a reason why Bill Belichick's coaching tree is not growing and not having the success that Sean McVay's is. That's why. Take it easy, Michael. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you. I'm saying it right now. Like, Sean McVay has the secret sauce, and other coaches just don't. And he's going to be the nightmare that everybody in the NFL is going to have to live with. It's just how it is. Jake with the Rams coming out and saying they weren't going to do a lot of restructures. What are you expecting our cap to be? And you see any upcoming free agent willing to take a discount to play in LA? Where'd you see that they're not going to do a lot of restructures? Because I haven't seen that. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I haven't seen that, so I'd have to catch up on that. I'm looking for it now. I Am Legend 2 is in development. That's pretty awesome, I'm not going to lie. All right, anyway. Getting sidetracked here. Do you see it from, like, Jordan Rodriguez? Like, where did you see that? Yeah, I don't see that anywhere. Fisher gets an order of Burger King onion rings. That's funny. Raheem Morris will get a job after this year. Sean McVay is the NFL zip recruiter. That's hilarious. Oh, not NFL Rums. I hate them. I don't like, misleading information. I don't like clickbait, as you guys know, so. Oh, interesting. I mean, he might have been, like, saying we're not trying to restructure, like, the whole team or something, but I could see restructures definitely being a part of it. Breaking news. Brian Griese is heading to the San Francisco 49ers to become the quarterback's coach and leaving Monday Night Football. Yeah, I Am Legend 2. It would have Will Smith and Michael B. Jordan. Talk about a duo. Dr. Detroit, that's not how this goes. Nuh-uh. Rams got plans to run it back, and to be honest with you, I think they're at least getting the NFC title game. So, hallelujah, he's finally gone. All right, I think I'm going to wrap it up. Appreciate y'all. I'm going to get some food in me, and then I'm going to stream Elden Ring at, I think, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So, if you are interested in that, head on over to my new gaming channel, and I will be streaming Elden Ring there. Johnny, appreciate you. Been a member for 2 months. Appreciate you. Yeah, here's the stream link. We're at almost 340 subscribers. If you want to head on over there, give it a like at least if you don't want to watch it. It would really help me out if you like it. But if you do want to watch it, you can hit the reminder button, and it will remind you when I go live. So just do set reminder, and it will remind you. So, Rams got the Fibonacci sequence. What's up, Johnny Rams? Rams and Dodgers fan, I really do think Trey Lance is in for a huge year. I think it's going to be like Patrick Mahomes-esque. And I could be wrong, but I really do think it's going to be like Patrick Mahomes-esque. Yeah, it won't be online until 9 or 9:30. I think 9:30. Yeah, 9:30. My bad. 9:30 is when we're going live. Sounds good, Century. Appreciate you. All right, guys. Really do appreciate you stopping by for the Friday night Q&A. For those of you that are just now tuning in, you can go and watch a replay of it. I talk about my thoughts on Rashad Samples, the new running backs coach of the LA Rams. I talk about my thoughts on the Batman series. I haven't watched the new one yet, but I will. And I mentioned that I Am Legend 2. I Am Legend 2 is in development. It's going to star Will Smith, who's going to be reprising his original role in the first movie, and our guy Michael B. Jordan will also be in it. Can't wait for that. We'll see. Probably have more information on that, but there's been so many other things we talked about: development of players, the Giants trading Saquon Barkley, why Seattle should blow it up, why Elroy Crazy Legs Hirsch could even make an argument to be on the Rams Mount Rushmore, since he is the architect of the fearsome foursome Rams. Stuff like that. But guys, appreciate you. Be sure to give this a like, a thumbs up, whatever you call it. Really does help the channel. I think we'll do one of these every single day. So I think I'll try doing tomorrow in some capacity and Sunday. But I know. Battle Ram, that's the first thing I thought. I'm like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that we're getting an I Am Legend 2 like more than 12 years after the first one? Ridiculous. But appreciate you guys supporting. I will be going live playing some Elden Ring on PS5 at 9:30. Hope to see you guys there, 9:30 Eastern Time. But I'll see you guys soon if not. Later, guys. Be good people.